Fernando Alonso told the world this was going to be his last chance, his final shot at glory, the regulation reset he had been waiting years for. The moment where Adrian Newey's genius, Lawrence Stroll's billions, and Honda's power would finally come together and give one of the greatest drivers in Formula One history the car he deserved. And instead, after 2 weeks of testing in Bahrain, Aston Martin left the circuit having completed fewer laps than almost every team on the grid, with a power unit that broke down repeatedly, a fastest lap time, a whopping 1.5 seconds slower than anyone except the brand new Cadillac team. The dream start to Alonso's final chapter has turned into a nightmare before a single competitive lap has been run. If Formula One is the first thing you think about every morning, hit subscribe. We cover every race, every upgrade, every paddock drama, and every championship twist before anyone else. Let's go through exactly what happened in Bahrain, because the full picture is even worse than the headlines suggest. Aston Martin arrived at the first test already behind their car, didn't even show up to the Barcelona shakedown in late January, alongside every other team. Turning up late with only enough time for minimal laps in a camouflage livery, Adrian Newey himself admitted before testing had even begun, "It's bound to cost us. To be perfectly honest, we got in the tunnel mid to late April, as opposed to January 2 for everybody else." But more than that, everybody else has been working on their CFD and general layouts way before us, so we're starting on the back foot, and we'll do our best to catch up. That is the man Lawrence Stroll paid an extraordinary sum to come and build them a championship-winning car, acknowledging in public before the season starts that his team is already playing catch-up. That is not a reassuring sentence. Then testing began, and things got dramatically worse. The AMR 26, the car Newey and new technical director Enrico Cardile have been designing, and the car that was supposed to announce Aston Martin as a genuine title contender, spent 4 hours in the garage during the second test on Wednesday alone due to a power unit issue. When Lance Stroll finally got out on track in the afternoon, he spun into the gravel trap almost immediately in what appeared to be a technical fault rather than a driver error. On Thursday, Fernando Alonso's run came to an abrupt halt when he encountered problems braking for Turn 4, came to a halt on track, and ended Aston Martin's entire day right there. He was lapping in the 1-minute 42-second range on hard tyres for context. And then came Friday, the final day of pre-season testing for the entire 2026 season. Lance Stroll completed 6 laps. 6. The entire 2-week testing program ended with Aston Martin having completed fewer laps than any team on the grid, with a benchmark time 1.4 seconds slower than everyone except Cadillac, a brand new team competing in their very first Formula One season. The root cause of all of it has now been identified by Honda, and it is deeply concerning. In an interview with the Japanese edition of Autosport, Honda's Ikuo Takeuchi revealed that abnormal vibrations from the V6 internal combustion engine were repeatedly damaging the battery system within the hybrid power unit. Alonso's multiple stalls on track were the direct result of those vibrations causing battery damage. Honda's decision to shut the program down on the final day was described as precautionary. Takeuchi said, "It wasn't as if an accident was imminent, but the condition was considered unsafe enough to warrant shutting the program down." Honda Racing Corporation president Koji Watanabe faced the cameras after testing with nothing to hide behind. "I think it's clear that we're not satisfied with how we're doing now," he said bluntly. "We identified a lot of areas to work hard on by the first race. Ideally, we would have liked to run more during the tests and collect more data, but unfortunately we ran into some unexpected problems that we are working on." Honda admitting publicly they are not satisfied and that they encountered unexpected problems. For Fernando Alonso, the sense of déjà vu must be almost unbearable, because this has happened to him before. In 2015, he left Ferrari and returned to McLaren for their new partnership with Honda, a reunion that was supposed to be one of the great comeback stories in the sport. Instead, it became a catastrophe. The Honda engine was catastrophically unreliable, desperately underpowered, and the relationship between McLaren and Honda disintegrated over 3 painful seasons. Alonso spent those years describing the engine on team radio in terms that became legendary. GP2 engine, GP2 engine, he snarled at one point. a line that echoed around the entire paddock and defined that era. He left McLaren in 2018 so disillusioned that he took 2 full years away from Formula One entirely. And now, a decade later, here he is again. The parallel is so painful it is almost cinematic. Aston Martin Chief Trackside Officer Mike Crack at least had the courage to be direct about the situation. It's been a challenging couple of weeks here in Bahrain, and today's limited running wasn't the way we wanted to finish the second test. He said after the final day, "We have concluded our test program in Bahrain, and the main challenge has been dealing with some reliability issues that have limited our time on track. This leaves us on the back foot going into the start of the season, because we haven't been able to complete all of the usual tasks typical of winter testing. You need reliability, and you need the wheels to turn. We haven't yet managed to keep the wheels turning as much as we want. You learn every lap, and every lap you don't do, you have to play catch-up, so it's not a fantastic start." He then added the only sentence he could add: "We need to be realistic about it, and then we need to catch up. There's no other way because our competitors are not waiting for us." Lance Stroll, meanwhile, had told media even before the second test that Aston Martin were as much as 4.5 seconds behind the frontrunners. For reference, in Formula One, anything beyond half a second is considered enormous. 4.5 seconds is a different sport. Now here is where this entire story becomes something much more than just a team having a bad pre-season. Because Fernando Alonso has spent months telling the world that 2026 was his last chance. His last shot at winning a Grand Prix after a 13-year drought. His last opportunity to fight for a third world championship. The words he has used have been some of the most emotionally charged he has ever spoken about Formula One. "I know it's my last chance," he said in September. "It's the differentiating factor. This is the last rule change I'll experience. And it's the last chance to try to win another Grand Prix, enjoy the good times, get on the podium, and fight for a championship." There are a lot of hopes pinned on the 2026 change. He had also been devastatingly honest about the retirement calculation. "If the car goes well, there is a good chance it will be my last year," he said. "If the car goes badly, there is a chance that I will continue for another year to end up with a good taste in the mouth." And then, at the livery launch in Saudi Arabia just before testing, standing in front of the new AMR 26 in its striking British racing green, he told Reuters, "I feel very proud to be part of this organization. I don't know if it's going to be the last season, but my plan is to enjoy every second. I will do race by race." What do you think? Can Aston Martin and Honda fix their reliability issues fast enough to give Alonso a genuine season? Is this the end of the road for one of the greatest drivers in the history of the sport? Or will he dig in and prove everyone wrong one more time? And does this Honda disaster remind you of what happened at McLaren in 2015? Drop your predictions in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, smash that like button and subscribe for more F1 news. I'll catch you in the next one.